Welcome, Kristen. I'm so glad to have you in the studio.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to our conversation today. Thanks for having me.
So, folks, if you don't know Kristen Relihan, she's a senior director of procurability. She has over 15 years of experience collaborating with her clients and project teams. Throughout her career, she's supported various industries, including utilities, government contractors, pharmaceuticals, and gaming. She started her career with Accenture's supply chain strategy practice and then led an energy company's IT supply chain department before returning to procurement consulting with procurability. I'm so excited. I mean, you've got a BS in business logistics from Penn State. You're recognized by Consulting Magazine's Women Leaders in Consulting Awards in the category of Excellence in Leadership. You and your family live in Maryland, but you can find them at Bethany Beach, Delaware, where I think you are right now throughout the summer, and other free weekends playing golf, spending time at the beach and on the water, and enjoying good meals with family and friends. So, Kristen, it has been so nice getting to know you.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. I think, this is a topic that is meaningful to me and I think meaningful to a lot of people. So I'm glad we have some time today to be able to chat about it.
Yeah, and I think attracting top procurement talent has been one of the top of mind issues for probably the last 10 years within the procurement industry. And it doesn't seem to get easier in spite of the fact that more and more people are trying to make this a career. I think there's more and more competition. So asking you, because you're the expert in it, what are some strategies you recommend to hire the right people with the right skills within the procurement field?
Yeah, you know what, Don, I think you're right. It's been challenging for the past, 5-10 years. And what makes it even more challenging is it's not the same problem week over week, year over year that we're facing. So I think finding the right way to attract talent is critical. And it starts way before you have a need to hire someone, right? To attract talent, to be able to build excitement around your company and the roles, you need to start and really focus on employer branding. So promoting your company's culture, the values, the mission, the vision through your website, through platforms like LinkedIn, through industry events that you attend is really important and a great place to start. I also think that, finding ways to get the recognition through industry awards like Great Places to Work is a wonderful way to start and provide awareness about your company and all the good things that you do.
Well, tell me a little bit about procurability's culture and all of that then.
Yeah. So we put a lot of focus and, effort around building a place that our employees enjoy working, right? So we seek to understand what's meaningful to our employees, right? What makes them feel supported and grow and excited to work here. And we put time and energy into it. So we have multiple employee resource groups that provide an outlet for folks to be able to, discuss certain challenges or issues together and have a network internally. And we really foster an environment where we like to have fun too, right? So I don't think of our company or any company as a family, right? I think a lot of people like to use that term family. I think of us as a team. And I think of us as, seeking to find ways that we can collectively grow and do better together and have fun while we're doing it, right? You might fight and bicker with your family. You're probably going to fight and bicker with your teammates a little bit too, but it's all towards progressing towards the greater good and finding ways that you can collectively, push yourselves forward and, look to be the best that you can as an organization.
So I was reading your Procurability's The Future Procurement Talent, and in there's a lot of discussion about developing your team from the inside out. Is that one of the things that you're talking about, what Procurability is actually modeling in themselves, not just writing about, but actually doing?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that it's really important to be able to put work into yourself and, growing the team that you have. So, when we put all the effort into attracting and hiring the right talent, it's just the start. So retaining them and helping them to grow and develop professionally and the breadth and depth of their experience is really critical. And you have to accept that, some turnover is going to happen and that's okay. But I think that there are few important things to focus on and consider outside of what is just table stakes for any company. So, when I look back at my career and I think about where I felt, the most supported and I was growing and challenging the most, it's really the people that I worked for and the time that my leaders took to help develop and mentor me and to coach me, right? And so providing training to those leaders so that they can be better people managers, better career coaches, I think is a great place to be able to focus effort, because it's important to, help develop that skill and show your employees that we are invested in you, right? We are invested in how your career progresses, and we have awesome leaders that are going to be here to support you and get you to that next place.
So when you look for the ideal procurement person, it's dramatically different than it was 15, 20 years ago. And CPOs have told us when we've had these roundtables is that the ability to influence is probably the number one skill set that they look for. It's not a degree. It's not where they worked before. It was that personality and the ability to influence. How do you feel about that?
I could not agree more. And I think, those soft skills like that are, oftentimes more important. We recently were working with a client who was seeking to fill a position. And, we understood their culture. We understood the hard skills that they needed to have to be able to be successful in that role. And we were interviewing candidates and we just weren't finding the right one within the right compensation band. And so we had a conversation with them to say, it was a kind of entry-level procurement position. And we said, what if we found a recent college graduate? They're not going to have 5 years of procurement experience. But if they went to a school and they have a great degree within that background and they meet all of these other attributes that you're looking for, and then you're going to be able to help mold them into this procurement professional that's going to, grow and thrive within your organization. What do you think of that? And they said, yeah, that sounds like a good plan. Let's go down that path. And so we did. We found, some great candidates, and they went through the interview process. They hired one of them, right? And it was because that person had the enthusiasm, the excitement to think critically and problem solve and want to work in a team and strong communication skills and just all of those attributes. They could teach them the, functional procurement role, right? It was a position where you didn't have to come in with that, but they had everything else they were looking for. And so they'll end up being a great fit. And I think we overlook that too often, right? Certain roles, you've got to have certain, baseline experience that you can come to the table with. But it's all those intangibles that make someone extraordinary. And that's what's harder to find and harder to make sure that it works within your organization.
Yeah. And I think those are intrinsically harder to teach as well. Like you can't teach someone to have passion. You can't teach them to be, constantly curious about the world and learning, but you can teach them how to do procurement and how to do it well. So I can't agree more. But now you've attracted the right procurement talent. How do you advise clients that now that you have them, how are you going to keep them?
Yeah. It's really important that you don't take your foot off the gas, right? So building that culture internally, right, where you have the team is really important. And having a mindset of it's not just top down coaching and career development, but it's providing mentorship. And I'm a big advocate for peer mentorship. We have a few different communities and ways within our company that we do it. But, I think just even informally and having that be part of the backbone of your company drives a lot of positive results. It's a safe space, right? If you have a question or you need to learn something, you're able to work with a peer and maybe have some more open and honest and vulnerable conversations and be able to kind of knowledge share. So in that team mentality, right, you're only as strong as your weakest player. If you come up with a new way to do something that you think is pretty awesome, and you start to share it with others, and they help you to, refine it and ask questions and, kind of build onto it, right? This culture of knowledge sharing and continuous improvement helps to progress everyone together. And I really think that it's a great way to build that that feeling of I can influence the company as well, right? Regardless of where you are in the company or what you're doing, your ideas and your ability to knowledge share and seek inputs is really important. And it helps help you to feel sticky, right? Like I feel connected to this company because I'm part of what is driving us forward. And so in that mentorship, in that knowledge sharing and continuous improvement, to really encourage employees that we want your ideas and your innovation to be able to, help us progress together. Training programs are important. You've got to have one. You've got to pull in the right external experts to help bring different perspectives and ideas and, challenge perhaps the way that you've done things. Certifications are great, but I think a lot of it comes from how do we internally support, coach, mentor, and develop each other to be able to drive those results that make sense for your organization as well.
Well, I love the idea that you encourage people to seek input, and because a lot of people are closed off from receiving input. And a lifelong learner is somebody who's going to say, oh, you're right. Maybe I could try this a little differently. I could do this a little bit better. I could shift the way I approach a subject. So I'm really glad that both give input, but also seek input about yourself, I think is so important. And of course, I would say, from what we've heard, that retention through certification has helped a lot, because at least employees know that by going through, for example, SIG University certification, that they want them to learn, they want them to grow within the industry. And we all know that eventually some people are going to leave, but it's leaving on the right way, keeping the door open and having, good conversation on the way out, and learning from the fact the person's leaving and what could you have done differently and what could you learn from it, I think is also critically important.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think that alumni network of past employees, they, again, there are opportunities that they might want to seek elsewhere, different directions they want to take their career. That's okay, right? Maintain them as part of your alumni network. Keep the lines of communication open. They, for us, could be our next client. They could be for us a referral of someone who's looking to, change careers and is interested in procurability. And so they become advocates for our company kind of beyond their time here. It's not out of the question for them to boomerang back, right? And they might have experienced something else and then want to come back. And what brings them back 9 times out of 10 is the culture that we've created here, and that they miss that sense of teaming and innovation together, that they're curious to come back after they've explored some other opportunities in their professional growth.
Yeah, and I always say it, with love in my heart when I say it, but we're like monkeys swinging from trees. Eventually, we're going to run into each other again, and eventually we might end up on the same trees that we left earlier. It's just such a small industry. You never want to burn a bridge. You always want to be ready to greet the next person you see at the next tree and have a warm, good feeling about them, about the tree itself, the company itself. And we do see so much of that switching and boomeranging within the industry. So you're spot on with that. But now you've got a cross industry and cross country advantage point from where staffing and recruiting best practices, you get to see it all. So if you were going to give an organization some hints on how to be successful in the long term, what would you advise them to do or stop doing?
Yeah. On both sides for sure. So I think, where companies have the ability to offer flexible work environments where people don't need to be in the office every day, it dramatically changes the pool of candidates that you can, seek to attract. And so that is number one, and really looking at the role and looking at your corporate culture and requirements, and can you look outside? I also think, one of the things that has stuck with me here recently is I was reading an article that talked about the difference between work-life balance and work-life integration. And I didn't realize, work-life balance is quite an old term that was used. And it was that separation between the two, that you should find balance, and they were separated. So I think of that similar to, my dad, right? He took the train to work every day. He worked, he took the train home, and he was home, right? There was no laptop that he had at home that he could jump online, or his phone that he was on. He really had work-life balance because they were separate and distinct. Whereas we have work-life integration, whether you work from home full-time or hybrid, or you're in the office, you're connected. You can't
You're always connected.
disconnect, right? And so finding ways to kind of integrate that and have that come across in how you're seeking to attract talent and talk about your organization and how you work, I think is really important, because as much as we might like to be able to shut everything off, we can't. And so we have to find ways to integrate, and we have to find ways to build those boundaries to protect both your work life and your personal life, so that they don't completely bleed into each other.
Yeah. In fact, at our house, we just started a new thing at 7:00. Everyone puts their phone in a box, and you can pick up a book if you want, but you can't pick up a phone to read, and you can't talk on the phone. You can talk to someone else that's in the house with you. And then just before you go to bed, you can check to see if you've missed anything critically important. And it seems, and it's sort of funny, like now suddenly someone will say, well, it's 7:01, phone's down, where the first few days it was like, what are you talking about? I'm not going to put my phone down in a box. So it is finding that integration where you find that time to have that focus time, and also just getting away from the screen time that you're constantly attached to.
Yeah, I think so too. I love that idea, Dawn, because I think it makes you better at both things, right? You're better at work because you're saying, this is the time that I'm focusing on this right now. These are my core business hours. This is what I'm doing. But then when you create that boundary and that separation, you can be, better to your family, to your friends, because you're not having that pull. You're not hearing the ding on your phone, or walking by your home office and just checking email one more time, right?
Yeah.
I really think that we should institute that here in our house for sure.
Well, it's still a new experiment. I'll let you know in a few weeks how we're doing with this. So I really appreciate your time today. So the jobs that you guys are trying to fill, please make sure that you always send them over to us at SIG. We usually have quite a few of them posted, but it would go out to about 100,000 people per week. And so our career network has just been, it's such a great place to amplify the type of positions that you're looking for. So please, make sure you send it to us. And folks, if you're listening, make sure you go into the career search and see. We do post a new update every single week. And right now, I can't even fathom to guess how many jobs that we're looking to help our members fill. So, and you don't have to be a member of SIG to post your jobs or your internships. So please keep that in mind as well. But as we close out the discussion, what would you like to leave with the audience about final thoughts at how to best attract, hire, and retain top procurement now and into the future? And I want to emphasize into the future, because I think our skill sets are going to start to change again. So do you think the people we have now will make it into the future, or do we have to start thinking about future talent differently than we have right now?
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of both, right? So we need to provide the training and the opportunities for those that want to be able to evolve based on where, procurement is changing and how technology is going to support the role a little bit differently. And so I think that there's, a lot of great talent that's out there today that just needs to help have the right, support and training to allow them to grow their career where the industry is going. I think what you did yesterday and what worked for you yesterday, you can't rely on, right? Things change. Could have been a little luck. It could have been that particular role or that circumstance that you were in. And so, taking a look back at what worked well with your recruiting process. For those folks who accepted jobs and are working for you and are highly successful, what attributes do they have that make them successful? How can you start to tweak and continuously improve your recruiting process so that you're screening for that type of attribute or skill, and evolving your process as well and the candidates that you're hiring. You have to look at those that don't work also, right?
Yeah.
And try and reflect back. So I think, really looking back, reflecting, and making adjustments along the way is really important. For those future procurement professionals, right, who are, maybe still in school or considering a career change and adjustment, I think that a lot of those soft skills, like you were talking about influence, are going to continue to be incredibly important. There's a huge analytical side to what we do. And as we said, a lot of that can be taught, but I think, finding those curious people that want to keep learning and challenging themselves, are open to maybe doing things differently than they had before, is going to be where the procurement organizations are going, where procurement professionals are going, because it does not stay the same day after day, year after year. We have to evolve and be ready for change and what technology brings to us as well.
Yeah, and I think you bring up a good point there, because when I do know that there are some CPOs that probably should retire because they're not tech forward. They're sort of tired from drinking that fire hose. And I've had conversations with someone. I said, the fire hose isn't going to slow down. You either have to learn how to swallow faster or drink faster or get a bigger mouth, because it's still going to keep coming at you. And you can't fight it. And if you fight it, you're going to fail or drown. So, I think it's that tech forward and tech savvy young person that you're looking for, but it's not all tech, because it's still the people. And so I lead with people and I back it up with technology, I think, is be the order that I put it with, because I think the influence comes from the people skills, not the ability to use technology. But I think the procurement professional of the future has got to have that insatiable curiosity. They've got to be tech forward. They've got to embrace the new concepts that are coming out. They can't poo-poo every idea that comes out and say, yeah, that's never going to happen. That's not really here, because it gets here so fast. So,
right. And I think finding that reasonable way too, right? Like, you've got to start, dipping your toe into the water. And you can't just jump into the deep end, right? And I think that's where we have that balance to find, of folks who are afraid of technology and that those want to go all in, right? You've got to find that middle ground to be able to bring everyone along together again, right? Like, we can't have extremes. We have to kind of push each other forward, and be thoughtful, intentional about the approach that we take. But you've got to feel uncomfortable, right? Growth comes out of feeling a little bit uncomfortable. And I think that really plays into the technology side as well.
Yeah. And they say the greatest growth comes from the areas that you're the least comfortable with right now. So I really appreciate that. Well, I want to thank you for your time today. I know we're running out of time, and folks, this is someone that you want to have in your network, not only Procurability, because it's a great organization. I'm a little biased toward them. But on top of that, you want to get to know Kristen, and you want to be part of her world as well. So make sure you reach out through LinkedIn, and then make sure you do a follow and have these conversations. The more we can talk about people and people's skills and what we're looking for, the more we can influence education, and the more we can influence the way that other people are seeing our industry, and getting all these really good, bright people to want to be in procurement the way all of us love it. So, Kristen, thank you for your time today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm glad we had some time together, and I look forward to continuing the conversation with you and with others.
Absolutely. And I hope you're going to be at our upcoming summit. If not, people, reach out through technology and make sure you put Kristen as part of your network. Make sure that you send your job openings to her. And Kristen, you make sure you send them to us so we can help you amplify them.
You've got it.
All right. Have a wonderful day, and I hope you enjoy your time up in Delaware.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.